Um, Affirmative community-based responses to hate crimes. So I'm going to take a long way around to get there. I am a teacher. Many years ago when I first graduated from college, I taught high school science. And after I had kids, took a 20-year break from the classroom to raise my kids, especially in light of what had happened to our family. And so once I set my sights on moving back to Atlanta, I decided that I didn't want to teach high school science, that I wanted to teach middle school math, because math was always my first love. So I took the classes to get my middle school math endorsement and everything, and was so excited about coming to Atlanta to teach math. And of course, I know I met one educator in the room. Any other educators in here? Okay. Middle school. So and math, math is one of those, power subjects, So I'm ready to hit the ground running, teach. But the problem is that the kids were not coming to school to learn. Huge gap. So I was very frustrated for my first 40 years in the classroom, teaching at Title I schools, which means that in three schools, all three schools that I have taught at, 95% of our students on free and reduced lunch. 99% Black or Hispanic schools. I mean, we talk about real deal in the hood schools. So I was very frustrated because I was coming to teach, and they were not coming to learn. And so I decided to retire. But God would not let me retire. So he opened up a door for me to go back into the classroom, and so I took it after much prayer. And I said, well, God, you're going to have to do something here, because this is not working. I'm too stressed. I'm too old for this. So he gave me a paradigm shift that has really been effective. And so in my head, and I wouldn't dare tell my principal this, or else she wouldn't have hired me. But in my head, my philosophy is not teach. My philosophy is, and this is how I operate. I'm here to love you. I'm here to pray for you, and I might be able to teach you. So that really has caused my students, it's been amazing, that I've never expressed that to them, but I think just the vibes maybe that come off, now my kids want to learn. And so, getting back to affirmative community-based responses to hate crimes, I think that no matter what you do, no matter what your jobs are, your positions are, whatever, we are really here to be relational and to love one another. We really are on the planet to just be instruments of love. And if we can just keep that perspective no matter what we do, that I'm here to love you, I'm here to love you, whoever, whatever kind of job or position or whatever, wherever I find myself, I'm there to be an instrument of love. And as we do that, then that's going to help to reduce hate crimes. We had a joke in my neighborhood. Our zip code is 60203. I live in Skevinston, is what we call it, because my post office address was Evanston, but I paid Skokie taxes, so we live in Skevinston. And the zip code is 60203. And so several of my friends in the neighborhood, we called it Mayberry. And when Benjamin Smith came through Mayberry and did what he did, they were really, really upset. How can this happen in Mayberry? And they were so angry that this happened to one of their own, and how their kids were so confused. They were so upset and outraged and confused, and there was just so much energy that it had to be channeled in some kind of way. And so that's how the community walks started, and there were programs that just neighbors started who were connected to their churches and to other types of community organizations. We had, in the next 5 years, I know, so many different meetings and forums and get-togethers, and getting together over to neighbor's house, or getting together over at Walker School or at Chute Middle School or in the Presbyterian Church in Wilmette, the big church there, First Presbyterian on Lake Street. There were so many conversations and activities, and the Race Against Hate was just, just one huge event that brought together. The first year, I think we had 750 people who, just wanted to get together and to make a stand, to take a stand, to make a statement. And so, I think all of that wasn't just me. It was hundreds of people who had been touched by what happened. And so what I'm here to say is that if we remain touchable, if we remain sensitive, loving in our hearts, then we will always just naturally be doing something wherever we are that's going to help to prevent hate crimes. So I didn't intend on being on the panel. I had prepared anything. So I hope that I said it in a way that you can understand what I mean. And I'm happy to answer questions.
You see, I didn't dare use these, sir. I'm going to flip the script a little bit and open it up right now for questions to make sure all of you have your questions addressed. So, first question. Yes.
asked Ms. Heineman, or no, I'm sorry, Ms. Scott, the commission that you're on, this is something that the city started as a response to things that they really couldn't manage in the city, or like, and do a lot of cities have this, or is this unique just to Chicago?
I think I'm going to defer to Ken Gunn, our first deputy commissioner, to talk about the history and how the commission was started.
So how much time do you have?
Let me have it.
No, the Commission on Human Relations was started in 1947
Okay.
to deal with racial issues that developed in Chicago, like in other urban areas. And over that time, we've evolved to do some different things.
But the task forces and things like that, you just got willing people in the community that are willing to step up and be your eyes and ears?
Well, those actually started, the International Human Relations Council, which is in Chicago lawn, was formed after the 9/11 happened, and there were a number of hate incidents on Muslim businesses and residents in that area. So the International Human Relations Council, which one of the founding members was at the Commission of Human Relations for many, many years, started to break down barriers in that community to increase understanding. And the other issue in that area was at Marquette Park, where Martin Luther King came and was confronted with hate supremacists there. A brick was thrown at him, a number of people were injured. So again, that whole community had been going through a number of transformations, so that has been a staple in the Chicago lawn area. The other area, Beverly, there have been long-time 40 to 50-year residents raised their children in the community that are still addressing issues of racism to this day. They would be doing this work even without the commission. It turned out, again, another member at the commission lived in Beverly, so she was experiencing that while she was actually doing the work at the commission. And the other two areas, Chinatown, there was another task force, a number of cultural intersections and race-motivated crimes and hate crimes in that community sparked another task force there that has since been disbanded, but they were together. My director here, Pablo Medina, was involved way back when they were very strong in that community. And then a fourth task force, the Pullman, Kensington, Roseland community, a number of issues, many of them dealing with the businesses and residents and relationships, as well as some other bias-motivated crimes. They're not as active right now. And then we have a fifth task force on the north side, which addresses critical issues and diverse issues in the north side of the city. So they are, again, critical to the work that we do. Number one, for the passion that they have for people who are victims, but willing to take a stand and take an action, as Ms. Birdsong has talked about, and willing to teach others and mentor others to do the same thing.
And when they started off, I'm sorry, when they got started, did they ask for help to get trained, or did they train themselves, or
some of
how
it
did they
was
organize?
Some were already in that mindset of standing with your brothers and sisters against any kind of oppression. Others, out of the incidents, were willing to pull resources from wherever. So the commission happened to be involved with the International Human Relations Council. And then some of the board members early on were with Roseland, Pullman, and Kensington. So they already had that mindset, one or two, and were willing to expand that to the rest of the community members. So it's kind of hit the ground running and pull in those resources where you can. Because there are a lot of leaders and resources out there with the skills, the passion, and the energy to do this mobilization and do the work and continue the work.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yes.
Do you offer the restorative justice training for
Yes.
The question is, do you offer the restorative justice training?
Yes, I can work with you and your institution and or direct you to the folks who are spearheading this over the last 4 or 5 years. So yes.
Next question. Yes.
Hi, I'd like to know, are you doing anything, have you money or resources, or would you like to have some money or resources, going towards being proactive on the front end of hate crimes and hate acts, and as opposed to the back end? And if you have something that's going right now, what is it, and how successful do you find it to be? Or if you had your dream budget, what would it be like?
Don't look at me.
budget, the answer is always yes when you're in a room full of people. But no, I think it's you. And I'm just talking specifically about the programs.
Okay, well, there are a number of agencies that would definitely love the resources to be able to build more coalition work in the community around different incidents. I don't have a list of organization names, but I don't think we can take money at the city, but we can certainly connect you with agencies that would be happy to work with you. I don't know if that answers your question.
Actually, it doesn't. My question really is really about having some actions that's before there's a crime.
Yes.
And whether it's, I don't know, anything, a pamphlet to have a big program or campaign about connect with people before those thoughts.
Okay, I understand. So one example I would talk about would be the CHA, Chicago Housing Authority. They have been going through their transformation for a number of years. And I talked about earlier that a number of families have been put in communities that are not so welcoming. So yes, in that instance, I think the pre-work, we have been trying at the commission to work and develop those relationships so we can do more pre-work with the CHA before families are moved. So education and awareness, creating allies in the community before families are even placed in the communities as a support instead of after the fact and then we're called in as a reaction to some of the incidents. So that's one example that I can share concretely that yes, there more involvement and information can be disseminated for those kinds of interventions.
There are
Before we
also
go on,
there are also many schools throughout the entire city that have in place very strong or very well developed violence prevention programs, starting at young grades and then tailoring them into the high schools. And those always could benefit from, first of all, more funds so that they could have the programs more often, but also from the opportunity to work with other schools to help, especially when you're in areas where schools typically can't talk to each other because of gang affiliations. Having programs like that that address that ahead of time, that talk about it before there's been some kind of a turf war or before there's been some shootings, would be very helpful. But there are a lot of violence prevention programs that have been developed for all age levels throughout from pre-K on up.
the commissioner has the floor.
You know, one thing I want to say is that this summit is really about prevention. And this summit really is about relationship building. And so, you know, when I say look around in the room, who's here, we need to be working with each other. And so this summit was not just us, the commission, doing it together. It was after 3 years of meeting, 3 years of building relationships with all stakeholders who are involved in hate crimes. And so that meant all the government piece, all the UIC piece, and us. And it was only after 3.5 years, we first started off, let's talk, how can we work past our different. Then we started doing different presentations. And then we're like, what we really need to do is this. And so this is preventative. This is us, all of us, and this is creating community. But we need to be looking at each other. We need to be seeing who we are. I see many partners in this room. They didn't come here just because I sent them an email. They came here only after working together, knowing that we are here, that when we come out, we are going to do some good delivery on education. I mean, so this summit, I think, is the preventative. And then everything that Jennifer does, every time, every curriculum thing that we develop in Spanish, everything going out to the schools is really preventative. It is really, really preventative. This is what, I mean, we are triggered, we are reactionary in terms of receiving complaints of discrimination, advocating for victims of hate crimes, but this is community. This is preventative.
We had a question here first, then we'll go back.
Jennifer, how does somebody get you? Can you give us your email, your telephone number?
312-744-1093. My email is jennifer2ns.scott2t's@cityofchicago.org.
Thank you.
I believe the order I saw was, and
Well, another thing, when I think about your objective, I also think about the conversations that we have in the home. So I don't know if because I'm always trying to think of a
creative way to change the types of, like, shift the paradigm in that thinking so that the conversation begin at a very young age. Like, for example, I had an experience this weekend with my 3-year-old granddaughter out of the blue. She was playing and the television was on. I don't even know what it said, but she said, one thing about people, and that broke my heart. And just trying to find out for her where she got that from really bothered me. Because if that starts as her mindset at 3, then this could turn into something that I really don't want. I don't want her to think like that. So I know she's just one of many, but because I know that racism isn't something that she's born with, or hate isn't something that she's born with, what programs are in place? I mean, you already know of any existing programs, or I'm going to even work with someone to help develop one, because that, I think, is the
So,
beginning
you
of
want me to
it.
question? Okay.
So,
That makes sense.
yes, it makes
Long
perfect
as
sense.
yeah.
So one of the things that's so wonderful about the restorative justice, it really was an answer to stop some of the suspensions and some of the other more harsh realities for some students in the schools. It's a way of repairing harm. So there's been a whole movement in Chicago which has been just awesome because the high schools have been embracing it, because the youth can embrace it and lead it and do it themselves. It's now even trickled down to 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. Last year, I worked in a Montessori school around issues with bullying. But bullying is a broad subject, so you can bring in issues of you're different or I'm similar, what are our similarities. We can talk about hate, we can talk about hurting other people, and our feelings. Kids get that. Kids get that at 3. They understand right and wrong. So yes, we have a very strong bullying program. Workshop and for younger kids up to adults, as well as stereotype awareness. And again, getting the principals involved, sharing your story with the principals, saying that you don't want this for your child. What can we do to address that? That is a prime spot, and principals are hearing that right now because they're seeing the results of some of the restorative justice work.